Legends of Lore. Alright, welcome to the Legends of Lore program. My name is Joe Manuola. This is Shirley Singleton.
Hi.
And we are the Legends
of
Lore.
Alright.
What are we talking about today, Shirley?
We are talking about Star Trek Picard, Episode 6, Bounty.
Yes, Season 3, Episode 6, Bounty.
Right.
So, we start off with a buoy, or a little beacon that the Titan has left.
Yeah, fake transponder.
And who finds that?
Vadic.
Yes, and she is not happy at all.
No. I mean, you know, and she gives a nice little speech. But then I get confused because, then she, kills that crew member, right then.
Yeah, definitely some inconsistency. And, I wasn't super impressed by the speech, honestly. I'm not 100% sold on Vadic as a antagonist. But, I understand how some might like her. I definitely like the actress's resume. But, I don't know. I'm not 100% sold in, I don't even understand how changelings smoke. But I guess these are those newfangled changelings. They can reproduce the interior organs, so she could, I guess, shapeshift her some lungs. But why the scar? Don't you think a shifter could just, unless that, I guess it's a deliberate aesthetic choice, right?
Right. If she was in prison and she's got, a teardrop or something, right, she's got a scar.
Exactly. So then I think that, after this scene where she takes out one of her crew members, we jump back to the Titan. With Jack, in the wake of learning the terrible news about his condition.
Yeah, there's Beverly and Jean-Luc. They're in sick bay, and she's telling him that he's got aromatic syndrome. And they're like, oh, it's aromatic syndrome.
No.
But, okay, so he does have aromatic syndrome, but that doesn't explain all that born identity stuff, right, and, killing machine stuff.
Yeah. I mean, does aromatic syndrome make you into a badass? I don't remember that part of the storyline in Season 1.
No, I don't recall that either.
Oh, man, it's aromatic syndrome just, uploads Kung Fu into your brain.
Sort of like the Matrix.
Exactly. I know Kung Fu.
I still think it has something to do with some Borg stuff. But anyway, we can get to that afterwards when we,
Definitely. And I mean, Picard, he lived well into his 90s with the aromatic syndrome in his old body.
True.
And but I guess Jack has early onset aromatic syndrome.
Right, yeah, because Picard didn't get it until he was on the Enterprise D. Or
right.
E or whatever.
And how old was Picard when he lost his original body?
He lost his original body, he was 96 or 92 or something like that. He
was
in his 90s.
Mid to late 90s. Okay, so we get a beautiful reunion, one of multiple this episode. This one is with Worf reuniting with Picard and Riker.
Right.
And Raffi also reuniting with Seven.
Right, yeah, that was
less joyous.
That was brief, but, and awkward, but, that was interesting.
So we have the new centered Worf, the warrior monk Worf, as I like to call him.
Yes.
And, he comes to drop a little bit of exposition and remind us about previous storylines. He talks about the Dominion War and the dirty things Starfleet had to do to win that.
Yeah, and he also talks about sour mead.
Yeah, sour mead, yeah.
Nobody likes the Chateau Picard.
It's too tart.
But yeah, the way Starfleet won the Dominion War, they ended up, infecting Odo with this whatever disease, and then he took it back to the Great Link.
Right, yeah, where he infected his own people.
Right, but then they ended up giving them the antidote. But what about other changelings that he may have been in contact with that weren't able to go back to the Great Link?
Right. That's a good question. Very good question. But, and at the end of the day, there has to be something that solves the problems, and that something is in Daystrom Station. They feel like they can get all this figured out if they can just find out what the Changeling stole from Daystrom.
Right. Which, I mean, Daystrom is it's a weird place, definitely. But I mean, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. They got to get to this station. They got to get on the station. They got to like, you know, give it whatever it is that they got from who Kern or what was that dude's name?
Yeah, I think it was Kern.
Yeah, from Kern.
Yeah, and of course, as usual, Picard in typical Picard fashion was to get other people to do his dirty work for him.
Most definitely, that's the way.
So he basically volunteers some folks or asks for folks to volunteer, and no shortage of volunteers.
No, except for Seven, she was not volunteering.
Absolutely not. She's had enough of Picard shenanigans.
Yeah.
So they get Worf, Riker, and
Raffi
into Daystrom, and of course Starfleet comes looking.
Yep. As soon as they get there, they get like Worf has to do this thing, which it's kind of I don't know. It looked like he was taking his time putting that,
Yeah.
thing in. I mean,
Wonder
I thought he would have been a little bit more hasty,
Right,
if
right.
it was me. But hey,
I guess they really played up the dramatic tension and
Right.
the suspense.
Yeah.
Really get it in time. One thing I gotta say about Daystrom, not very good lighting.
right?
Not
Yeah.
very good lighting at all.
No, it was very dark, and I guess it was meant to keep you wanting more.
Right. Yes, a evil funhouse of sorts.
Yeah.
'Cause there's definitely some crazy stuff in there. What'd you think about the evil Tribble?
I thought the evil genetically modified Tribble was interesting. The whole thing reminded me kind of like of like a D&D dungeon or something.
Yeah, or
you
like
know?
a Zelda dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely got that feeling. We got a really deep dive, like deep cut character reference in this one that actually, might have confused some casual viewers who aren't familiar with all the ins and outs of the original, Next Generation TNG. A literary character that just happened to come to life in the holodeck many, many years ago in in the Star Trek universe, Professor Moriarty.
Yes, Professor Moriarty.
And if you don't know, he was a sentient AI basically that came out of the holodeck, such a well programmed character that he became self aware and actually hijacked the entire ship.
Yeah, it was designed by Dr. Pulaski and Geordi. They were trying to create an adversary that could beat Data as Holmes.
Yeah, it's a tall order.
Yeah, that was a tall order, and that's what happened.
Wow. So it's like all the computing and cognitive might that the computer could muster just to fight Data just became self aware and just went buck wild.
Yeah, but the version that we see is not the self-aware version. It's a version from Data's mind. Well, it's a version.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Uh-oh. Tisk tisk.
Spoilers. Oh, I forgot to mention spoiler alert for the entire episode of season 3, episode 6.
But you guys should know that.
That's how we roll.
So Moriarty, he's whistling. Well, first it just starts with a couple different notes. Yeah, what is that? Riker says this B sharp or F flat or whatever, and but it turns from like, okay, this is just one note to, okay, this is a progression of notes to something a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And we figure out really rather quickly that this Moriarty is not even necessarily trying to hurt them, though he seems like he is. He's trying to figure out that last note in this song. And it just happens to be the same song they were whistling in the very first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, the Encounter at Farpoint. Yep. That same note that Data was trying to sing in the holodeck.
Yeah.
And we realized that is no coincidence because we have basically, for all intents and purposes, a new amalgamated Data.
Yeah, and the song was Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yep. All around the mulberry bush indeed. And I'm going to have to be honest with you. This is where I really felt like maybe they were going a little too far with this. Like, the older Data did kind of take me out of, the suspension of disbelief. It really did. It's like we already kind of had Data before in season one, and he died. He died in other, Star Trek. Was it First Contact or Nemesis? It was Nemesis, right?
I don't know.
One of the Star Trek: The Next Generation movies.
Right.
He
Yes.
he sacrificed himself for Picard and company. I think it might have been Nemesis, and that was his first big death. And then he had B4 and everything.
Right.
And then we saw obviously in Star Trek Picard season one, the programming of Data, his essence was basically deleted. And at his own request.
Right.
So I think to me that kind of lessens it. And this is where some of the janky writing of the first two seasons, like first time I really see it creeping in this series is this episode. And it's not terrible. I'm not saying like I hate it, but it definitely takes me out of the suspension of disbelief, and it feels like for the first time that this character was kind of shoehorned in. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see where the rest of the season takes us. I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, because they made it clear that it was not the same character, Data.
Right.
That this was an amalgam of 4 different Soon-type androids. Of Lau, of B4, of Lore, of Data, and of Alton Soon himself. So I guess 5.
5, yeah. What a...
So, and the personalities have not merged, so they're all at odds with each other. So I think that, it was a way to bring, you bring back the rest of the cast, but you don't bring back Brent Spiner.
No, I feel that, but that principle itself kind of makes you rise against the show, But I feel you. There are some interesting storytelling possibilities that could come of this. I just hope they fully capitalize it. What do you think on the whole quote-unquote human aesthetic of age that they wanted to add? Because, this is supposed to be not a android like a positronic android necessarily like fully synthetic like Data, but a flesh and blood android with positronic parts.
Right, like Picard.
Like Picard, but maybe a little bit more mechanical.
Right.
But the fact that we now see, Brent Spiner and his natural wonder, but it does kind of take you out of the fact that this was supposed to be a, synthetic being. I don't know.
Because Soon made it in his own likeness.
Fair enough.
Because you saw the little picture of Soon, and he was like, old dude. So.
Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It just kind of takes me out of it a little bit. But anyway, so like. They really go into Daystrom, not kind of using him as a weapon. Maybe not a weapon, but definitely a security system. Like Data is dangerous, and he's one of the most sophisticated AI ever made. Or this was not Data, excuse me, but Alton Soon's final project before he died was the most sophisticated AI ever made, and it would be dangerous. And I don't know, because kind of part of me makes sense. I would like to see the idea of Data or Data-like creatures used as weapons. But on the flip side, it's like, does it seem maybe a little hokey that they just have some dude sitting plugged into all these things and he's the AI? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'm okay with it. Because you get a twofer, you get this you get this AI, which when it eventually identifies itself says that it's what was it? DM510.
Yeah. Case from Android DM510 or something.
Right,
like that.
yeah, which kicks all the way back to the original series when Dr. Daystrom made his original appearance with the DM5 that was supposed to be able to run an entire starship by itself. But I think it serves a purpose. It's able to run the entire station by itself, and it's the inventory, it visually inventories things, it can do it all. So
why not?
Yeah. And it, like I said, it keeps in line with the original series of Daystrom.
Right. I guess the appearance of it all is weird to me, but it is what it is. We'll definitely see how they move with it forward.
Right.
All right, so we okay. All right.
Yeah, I think we ended up popping over to the museum.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So, whenever, they drop everyone off at Daystrom Station, they
Yeah.
get chased by Starfleet.
Right.
So, what are they going to do? They can't just sit there, and they have a ticking clock. They only have, an hour at Daystrom before security guards will come and basically kill them with lethal force.
Yeah, I think so.
So, what are they going to do? They got to seek out help from one of the only people that they feel like they can trust after all these years. And that person happens to be Commodore at the Starfleet Museum.
Yes, Commodore Geordie LaForge.
The greatest engineer ever,
Yep.
except for maybe Montgomery Scott. He's definitely up there.
Right.
Okay, so, but unfortunately Geordie doesn't have quite the warm welcome that we might have hoped he would have.
No.
He does have a hug for Beverly, though.
That's right. Gotta keep it real.
Okay, so he's pissed. He's pissed. Not only is he pissed about the fact that Picard just dropped all this hot mess in his lap, expecting him to help it. Not only is he pissed that Picard brought one of his only daughters along on the ride and potentially risked her life. Definitely risked her life and career and freedom. He's also pissed that the fleet is all going to be placed into one point in space for Fleet Day. Frontier Day.
Yeah.
So he's not a happy man. This is not the jovial LaForge of the past. This is a LaForge that is grizzled, and he is burdened by the responsibilities of his family and his career.
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, he runs a goddamn museum.
Yeah, he's not like happy-go-lucky Geordie.
Yeah, he has responsibilities. He has pressure in his life. The last thing he needs is Picard coming around and messing everything up.
Right. We're probably sending him some sour
Yeah, so they really kind of go at each other. Like, there's a moment when, it stays civil, but Geordie, by knowing certain terms, he lets him have it.
Right.
He doesn't hold anything back. He lets him know the position he put him in, and he makes some good points.
Yeah, it's everybody makes good points about Picard. Beverly made a lot of good points about Picard. Starting from the first season, Raffi, she made a lot of good points about Picard. And now Seven's seeing for herself, and she's like, nah.
And one of my favorite scenes of the entire episode happened right around this point when they got to the museum. They're in the museum. Picard is talking with Geordie in one room, but meanwhile on the bridge, Jack and Seven are starting up a little conversation, and she's going through some of the famous ships in the museum.
Yeah. There was like all these great ships there. There was even from the Enterprise series, the NC-101A refit.
Yes.
Made an appearance, and
there's the New Jersey. Have you ever heard of that one? Do you know what that's from?
No, I'm not really that familiar with the New Jersey. I forgot what class it was. I think it was just more of a representation of its class.
Right. And she gets a little misty-eyed when she stops at a very special ship, the USS Voyager.
Yes.
Intrepid class, right?
Yep.
And the USS Voyager, she made it out further than any of those other ships and made its name known in places that none of those other ships did.
Yep, that's very valid, They got that claim to fame.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it really showed some emotional depth from, 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan. She really, I felt it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I definitely bought that.
And, maybe it's her channeling a little bit of her own, memories of being on the show.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't like she didn't have to stretch that far.
Yeah, you got to use what you got as an actor.
Absolutely. Another question I want to ask you, Shirley, do you think that Geordie's eyes are contacts like they have been in other things, or do you think there's some VFX going on? Because it's really easy nowadays just to VFX his eyes.
It's both.
It is?
I think I think I watched The Ready Room, and they mentioned his eyes, and I think he said he wears contacts that, can be, that can do that. That
right.
VFX, people can, pick up on or whatever.
Right. Nice. So, we get a great scene with Shaw, that old grease monkey, kind of fanboying up to Geordi.
Yeah, that was kind of cute. You know, and he was like all stammering and stuff.
Yeah. Well, while all this kerfuffle's going on, Picard arguing with Geordi shooting recriminations at Picard. They come to an idea that this just isn't the plan. They want to, and Geordi wants his daughter off the Titan, and they're shit out of luck. But meanwhile, the young people are taking the initiative, and they steal a cloaking device from a Klingon bird of prey, or is it bird of prey?
Right. Yeah, the bounty.
Yes. So.
Yeah, from Star Trek. I believe.
Was that 6?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Well.
It's the one with the whales.
So yeah, they got that. They got that cloaking device, and they install it so scandalously onto the Federation starship Titan.
Right. They're just like, we're doing this,
Yeah, to hell with all the treaties.
That's right.
It's very taboo.
But, speaking of the treaties, was it the Treaty of Alderaan or something like that with the Romulans? Well, the Romulan Star Empire is dust now.
Yeah, it's gone.
What treaties exactly are there prohibiting this?
Is there a treaty with the Klingons?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It was a Klingon bird of prey.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll have to look into that. Mention that in the comments if you guys know what treaty they are referring to.
Referencing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a cloaked starship, Federation starship coming to Daystrom to save our characters, and not any moment despair, because now the security force is coming to bring the lethal force down on Riker, Rafi, and Worf.
Yep, they're bringing it down.
And we got Data getting unplugged from the system, because it turns out that the amalgam, Data is not just has the manifest, he is the manifest.
That's right.
He is the key to solving the changeling mystery.
All in one.
So we got we got the Titan warped coming in to save the day. And one question I got is they show very specifically show the Titan dropping out of warp, then cloaking. So, and then can the starship travel cloaked and warp? Because that's just going to come into play in a second.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't recall. I mean, I don't see why not. But, if anybody knows, let us know in the comments.
Okay, because what happens is that they basically steal the new data, and then they get onto the Titan, and the Titan goes to warp. So what would have stopped... They had to drop out of cloak to beam them up, so they were detectable by the Federation starships looking for them. So what's stopping those starships from just chasing at warp the Titan?
Right, but my whole thing is that, we talked about this particular cloaking device that they stole from the movie with the whales. They actually transported somebody in that movie when they were cloaked. So I don't see why they could have came in and hid behind the moon like they did before, and then cloaked, and then went out and got him. I mean, but I guess they really didn't have the time, to be honest, because those people were already there, right? And the other thing that bothered me about this whole situation was several times you saw the people on the station try and contact the ship, and they were unable to because the ship was out of range. But then when Picard decides to contact Riker, when they're still at the museum, he's able to reach it.
I don't know. Maybe there's something about having the power of the ship that allows you to send longer signals. Maybe it's just poor storytelling reasons, and maybe that's another factor in why they didn't chase them. Maybe they could travel out warp cloaked, but maybe they just, for storytelling reasons, needed to show the Titan drop out of warp, then cloak itself, just to tell this, to read to the audience, hey, they're there and now they're cloaked, Or maybe they're just sloppy storytelling and they just didn't even think about it, It has plot armor, who knows?
Yes.
But But and one unfortunate thing that happened was Riker getting captured by the enemy. During,
Yes.
Worf and Raffi, get back with the amalgam data, but Riker is not so lucky. He has to be a hero and lays down cover and gets taken for it.
That's right. Yeah, he was like, I'm going for it. Get out of here.
And towards the end of the episode, we also have a pretty sappy scene with Jack and Picard, where things are getting a little emotional, and I thought it was a little, cheesy. What did you think?
So let's see. So I mean, talk a little bit more about the scene.
Well, it was an emotional back and forth between Picard and Jack, and I just felt like it got almost a little too just saccharine, sweet sappiness. Like, I mean, I don't really know.
Oh, the whole thing about like, oh, this is what I got from my mom. And
Yeah,
this is what,
exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, it was all right. But like a lot of things that he mentioned for his dad, I'm like, he was like, well, I don't know where I got those from, and I'm like, I would think that you got them from your mom because she was pretty badass in episode 1.
She's pretty loyal.
Yeah, she's brave, loyal, and whatever.
Wise.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, just unnecessary too.
Yes.
Like they probably could have expressed, a much more modest but equally as effective sentiment in a much more concise way. But this. What else we got? We got like the very end where Vedic, she's shapeshifted as a Starfleet officer that captured Riker, but actually obviously a shapeshifter. And she lets out kind of a goofy laugh. I not really too intimidated by the way she laughs. And at the very end, we see they have Diana. That is intimidating. We see the return of Diana, but not
Deanna
under the
Troi,
not under the best of circumstances. Counselor Troy is seen better days.
Yeah. She didn't look too happy. And nobody looked happy. Will was all beaten up and stuff like that.
But we also learn at the very end what the changeling stole from Daystrom, and it may not be what you think it is.
Yeah, we had the tender reunion of Geordi and Data for a hot minute, until another personality took over.
Mm-hmm. And we learn exactly what they're looking for, what the changelings actually got.
Right.
And that is the body of Picard, the OG body.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought it was kind of cool the way that they did it, because everybody thought it was like the Data was glitching.
Right.
It was like Jean-Luc Picard. And they asked him a different question, Jean-Luc Picard, because that was the same answer. It was the right answer, you know?
So what's your theories on why the changeling stole it, and what would be such a... Because it's supposed to be even more deadly weapon than the portal tech.
I figure, like I said before, I think it has to do with... Because they want Jack. I think it's like next generation Borg technology. And so I think that, like, because he was Locutus and, he had some Borg implants taken out. I don't know if he had all of them taken out. Maybe he was able to pass on some Borg tech. I mean, because you never hear about Borgs having kids.
Right.
Biologically.
Right. I think that they grow them in, like...
They do.
Yeah.
But what happens?
Right. Good questions. I mean, in Star Trek First Contact, Picard makes a big point of their implants are still in my body.
Right, yeah.
So, like, maybe they are trying to harvest Borg tech from his dead body. But that still is, like, is that the deadlier than a portal thing? I don't know. Maybe it's hyperbole. Who knows?
I think it's a hybrid Borg thing. Hybrid Borg, biological, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it got in his DNA. Who knows what they're going to come up with.
Right.
But I think whatever it is that he passed it on to Jack. And I think that, they're hoping to get, harvest it from his body as well.
Right. Well, only time will tell.
Yeah.
This has been a hell of a season, but I feel like this episode might have been my least favorite so far. It wasn't terrible. I really do think it was a good episode. I just start to see some of the lazy writing and or sloppy writing, starting to peek its head out. But then again, I am coming from a very critical place. But this is a very near and dear franchise to my heart, so I feel like I'm justified in being a little overly critical. But definitely don't want to leave it on a bad note. I think it was a solid episode. I'm excited. It just kind of keeps the suspense and intrigue going, and I'm really looking forward to the next episode that is titled Dominion.
Oh, awesome.
All right. Well, until then, guys, just keep an eye out on our channel.
That's right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.